Welcome to Stop and Scare. I'm so glad you found me. Stay a while and let me scare the hell out of you. Subscribe now if you're new, and like the video to help it grow. Enjoy. Number 1. On my first trip to Europe, we started in Rome and drove down to Sicily, and on the way back north, we decided to stay the night in a small town instead of a major city. We ended up in a small town called Loria, right on dark, and hadn't booked any accommodations yet. As we drove around the town looking for a hotel, every local is stopping in their tracks and watching us like we're out of place. We find and pull up at the only hotel we could find, a multi-level building with an empty car park, no guests, no staff around. We went in and booked a room, and the guy who served us took our bags, put us in the elevator, and sent us on our way to our room. We get up 3 floors, and here he is waiting for us with our bags. It's a classic horror movie hallways, seemingly too long for the building, and only half the lights are working. It's dead quiet inside. So we put our stuff in the room and get out to see if the town is really that bad. We head out for dinner. Again, every person stopping and staring at us as we walk down the streets. The next morning, we wake up early to find all the doors are locked and cannot be opened from the inside without a key. No staff anywhere, so we left the key on the desk and had to break out the hotel window to get out. Number 2. My friend and I were on a road trip across the United States. I wanted to stop and get a postcard from each state as a memento. Washington, Idaho, Montana were all easy to find postcards. Wyoming is where it got a little complicated. It was about 1 a.m. when we were just about in South Dakota, when I remembered that I hadn't gotten a card yet. We stopped at a Walgreens so I could find a card. I walk in and immediately get very uncomfortable. There was no one except for the cashier and a lady with a full cart of items. She's dressed all in white, like the whitest and cleanest white I've ever seen. She has matching white hair as well. I look around for postcards and don't find any, so I walked up to the counter. These 2 people have not yet moved an inch. The cashier is standing there not moving and holding the scanner. After about 3 minutes, she looks up at me like I just got there. She said, "What do you need?" in a sleepy voice. The lady in white turns around insanely fast and freaks me out a bit. She's incredibly pale, almost matching her outfit. She starts yelling, "He doesn't have anything. His hands are empty. Why don't you have anything?" For some reason, I managed to say I was looking for postcards, and the cashier just stared at me, saying nothing at all. The lady in white just kept whispering and pointing to me while repeating quietly that I had nothing in my hands to purchase. The cashier never moved. I glanced back as I jogged out the door, and they are right back to the exact same positions they were in when I walked inside. Number 3. This starts with my boyfriend, his brother, his brother's girlfriend, and I all deciding to split off from the rest of his family during vacation and head to the Winchester Mystery House. Now, since this is 6 or 7 years ago, I can't remember if we were headed to or back from there. I was driving and my boyfriend was a navigator. We started our trek and expected to be at our destination before nightfall. Somewhere along the lines, we took a wrong turn, although we had a map and both set our GPS. I didn't think about it at first, and nobody else mentioned it until what felt like a few hours of me driving. Now, this wasn't in silence, from what I remember. It was a normal road trip with talking, laughing, and music. But we got down this particular road, and it all feels like we snapped out of a dream. Everything is dark. There's shadows of trees bunched here and there along the road, but past that is just pitch black. I'm talking a void of darkness, where you feel it goes on for miles on end, but you can't see it. One of them said something along the lines of, "Where are we?" and joked that we entered the twilight zone. But I tell you, I got this really uneasy feeling like I shouldn't drive any farther than I already had. And I think everyone else felt that too, because we got really quiet and just kind of stared out the windows. Just this stillness, like we entered a place we shouldn't have. I flipped a bitch and started speeding off in the opposite direction. But lo and behold, the scenery we saw going back wasn't the same as we saw coming in. It was still pitch black, but none of it was familiar. You know how you can make out odd shapes from the shadows? But literally nothing looked like it was before. It took me a good 15 or 20 minutes to get out of the void. But to this day, every one of us swears we were driving for hours in it. We can't find that turn, although we've taken that route a few more times throughout the year, and it really does seem like it was a dream, except for the waking up part. It's like everyone was stuck on autopilot, and no one remembers what we said, or even what sounds we heard during those hours. Gives me the creeps. Number 4. My girlfriend and I went to an Airbnb in a town called Tiger, Georgia, to see a bunch of her college friends. There was one other couple who got there about the same time as us. By day, the cabin looks pleasant enough. 3 stories of rustic comfort with a hot tub overlooking the forest and sunrise. We didn't get there by day. We got there as the sun was sinking low. Rooms seemed to shrink and tighten. The stairwells were only as wide as a single body, and at the bottom of the basement stairs, a rug hid a padlocked trap door. It felt like the start of a horror movie. We're trying to ignore the weird vibes and decide to go to dinner. We spent nearly an hour driving around searching for a place to eat. Steakhouses closed by 7 p.m., an Italian joint which was someone's house, a Mexican eatery now abandoned and overgrown with vines. Finally, we find something. It's suitably called the last dive bar on Earth, and it's sitting on the edge of a retention pond. The parking lot is full of pickup trucks, all festooned with old political bumper stickers from the late 90s and early 2000s. We head in. It's like we've entered into another decade. But the beer is good. They have pizza and the prices aren't bad. We eat in a hurry and get out of there. As we get back to the cabin, the other couples are there and talking about how they had such a nice time in town. It was only by daylight at the end of the weekend that as we descended the mountain, we found a ton of local shops and restaurants that I swear to fucking God were not there the first night. On the first night, the electrical outlets in the house fried my phone, leaving me with no way to connect to the outside world. The weekend ended up being nice, but the entire time we all felt like we had fallen through a crack into some when else. Number 5. During a road trip with a friend, we decided to follow this road to a compound that had a gate, cameras, and a sign that said, "Unauthorized personnel will be shot on sight." We turned around as fast as we could and drove a few miles down the road where there was a truck stop and a Mexican restaurant. We were shaken by the sign and we were hungry, so we go to the restaurant. I'm not kidding when I say it was silent, and everyone looked at us when we walked through the door. What made it weirder is literally no one had food. Story number 6. Gary, Indiana. I got off the highway to get gas. Driving through the city was like a post-apocalyptic movie complete with burned-out cars. Crazy guy in underwear walking down the middle of the street with a baseball bat, and all the windows were broken or boarded up. I stopped at a gas station, and then guy came out and said, "Get back on the highway, son. It's not safe here." I had enough gas to get to a safer rest stop to refuel. Number 7. I was on a road trip on the South Island of New Zealand, and one night at around 9 p.m. decided to stop in a small town to get some rest. Already while driving into the town, I noticed that there were Christmas decorations everywhere, like decorated trees and plastic Santas and reindeer. Excessive amounts of decorations on the street and in every window. This wouldn't have been too weird if it hadn't been in the middle of August, but I thought the town was really dedicated to a specific aesthetic, or whatever. I got to the motel and checked in, and the old lady at the front desk was short and rude with me, which I thought was weird, because I had experienced people in New Zealand as really nice and quite chatty. She also wouldn't give me the Wi-Fi password, even though they advertised free Wi-Fi. She quite literally told me to piss off and let her get back to her newspaper. After that, I went out, and the whole time I was there, I never saw any people on the street. I went to a diner near the motel, both also stuffed with Christmas decorations, and had the same experience with the waitress while ordering. She told me they were out of almost everything, and the only thing I was able to get was a cheese sandwich. There were other people in the restaurant who were all eating what I suppose were meals from the menu. They didn't have to order a plain cheese sandwich. While waiting for my food, I noticed that no one in the whole diner was talking, even though there were families and other groups of people. Even the kids ate in silence. Or not really silence, as there was Christmas music blaring. After I was done eating, I just paid and left. I was also the only one leaving. No one in that diner the whole time I was there got up to leave or go to the bathroom or do anything really. They all just sat there. When I left, I felt like they were all staring holes into my back. The whole time I was in that town, I got a feeling that everyone wanted me to leave, and like somehow they were angry with me. Thank you guys for watching to the very end. If you would like to have your story featured on an upcoming video, email the email in the description box below. And thank you for stopping by for a scare.